Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name is Calabucas, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation startups, the future. Not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe and please drop a note on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. So, maybe about 10, 15 years ago, I was in a meeting and I worked at a web design firm. And we were brainstorming something. We were about to sit down and start brainstorming something. And we went up to the wall and there was a whiteboard that no one had erased. So went up there and started erasing it. And it turns out that whoever wrote on the whiteboard had not written on the whiteboard using whiteboard markers. Oops! They used the regular markers that you'd use, say, on a flip chart. And I'm like, oh crap, what do we do now? And my boss stood up and he took whiteboard markers, regular whiteboard markers, and he started drawing over top the whiteboard marker, or the marker that was already there, and he's drawing over top of it. And he goes, as he's drawing, he says, you know, people don't realize this, but the reason why these whiteboard markers are whiteboard markers are because they have a solvent in them. There's a solvent in them that actually dissolves the ink. They use the exact same ink that's in a regular marker they use for flip charts, but there's a solvent in there that will dissolve ink, make it dissolvable, make it wipeable. And as he's drawing over this, after he finishes drawing over it, he takes an eraser and goes whoosh, and it's gone. The permanent marker was gone. And I thought to myself, wow, I didn't know that. I had no idea that that was the case. And I thought to myself, wow, if you think about it, there are so many unknown unknowns out there. We, as a human race, know so little about what's out there. I mean, we personally have a sphere of knowledge that we know about, right? And whenever we need to know something, what we do nowadays, well, what do? We Google it, right? Whenever we try to find out something that we hear about, we Google it, we can get more information on it, we can expand our knowledge on it. We can constantly learn. At least I constantly learn. If you're an innovator like me, then you're probably in a constant learning mode. I mean, that's one of the things I love about the internet, is that you can learn constantly. It doesn't matter how much you already know, you can always learn more. But that's just a little bit of information that just came across my field of vision, and I never would have thought of it. I'll give you another example, another whiteboard example. So we were in a brainstorming session at one point, and somebody brought in a set of scented markers instead of regular whiteboard markers. They had the scented markers. I don't know why they had scented markers, but they had scented markers. And because we had scented markers at the whiteboard session, all of a sudden we started using scent as a trigger for some of the inventions that we were coming up with. We actually came up with a number of different inventions based on scent. So what's interesting to me is that there is so much knowledge that's out there that we have no idea of. So many unknown unknowns. And a lot of times the only way to get to these unknown unknowns is through serendipity. It has to be serendipitous. And if you're sitting at your desk all day, doing the same thing day in, day out, you're not going to get serendipitous encounters. You're not going to hear new things. You're not going to see new things. You're not going to make new connections if you just do the same thing day in, day out. So I'm going to argue that you should go out and seek out serendipitous connections. Go to different physical places. Talk to different people on the phone. Expand your perceptions by getting out of whatever zone that you're in now, because you're probably in a really comfortable zone right now, doing the same things over and over and over again. See new people, talk to new people, join something like Lunch Club, join a meetup, take a different route to work, whatever. Change up your day. Create the environment for these serendipitous occurrences to occur, and who knows what kind of new innovations might spark in your head. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.